My husband has a female best friend and I hate her. Story time. My husband Zach has a female best friend who we call Fatima. Fatima and Zach have known each other for all their lives. Let's say they were childhood best friends. In all the 5 years that I have known Zach, I have known him as a man who's a one-woman type of a man. He's not one to cheat. But honestly, the love that he has for his best friend, it really pisses me off. At one point, I actually overheard him talking to his friend that he owes Fatima his life. When I asked him why he felt that way about Fatima, he mentioned to say at one point in his life when his parents couldn't pay for his university fees, Fatima's parents paid for his fees and she convinced them to do so because she told them that this was his best friend and that he needed this money. So Fatima's parents basically helped Zach at some point in school with school fees. So because of this, Zach feels that he owes Fatima his life. Zach knows that I'm the type of girl who dreamed of having a very huge wedding, but we couldn't have this because at one point Fatima wasn't working and Zach had to share his salary with her. So because of this, we couldn't have a wedding. That was insane. What that basically means is that since Fatima wasn't working, Zach had to cut his salary in half. Half of it had to go to Fatima and half of it had to go to me and Zach. Honestly, this pissed me off, but when I brought it up to Zach, he told me that I need to be more compassionate and we wouldn't have had all this money to actually spend on a luxurious wedding if it wasn't for Fatima saving his education at one point in his life. This pissed me off so much and I hope by now you can see why I don't like Fatima. But because this was very embarrassing for me, I couldn't even explain to my family why me and Zach were no longer doing a big wedding as we had initially planned. I just told everyone in my family to just, forget about it and that we just wanted to settle quickly and rather use the money for something else. This was the excuse that I made to my family on behalf of Zach. Honestly, what other excuse could I have made to my family that my man is giving 50% of his salary to his girl best friend? Honestly, I couldn't say that, so I had to think quick. I don't know if it was love or I was being naive, but I forgave Zach and we went on without a wedding and we got married. I thought this is where the drama would end, but there was more drama coming immediately I was Zach's wife. Because Fatima was still single, it was as if we now had to share my husband, aside him once upon a time sharing his salary. Bear in mind, after our marriage, Fatima actually found a job and didn't have to depend on our salary anymore. Within 4 months of our marriage, Fatima eventually found a man, they got married, and within the same 4 months, she also fell pregnant. At this point, I started to warm up to her because things started getting better and she didn't have to have Zach in her life all the time. This happiness of mine was very short-lived because after the pregnancy, Fatima's husband left her and they ended up divorcing in just 4 months. This time around, I was back to sharing my husband not just with Fatima, but with a pregnant Fatima. After Fatima's pregnancy, Zach became the father. He started taking Fatima to all her antenatal appointments and hospital visits that she needed. They started buying baby clothes together, and his excuses were that Fatima stood by my side during a difficult time in my life. I need to reciprocate. This was pissing me off because it felt like Fatima was my sister wife. After I noticed that this was getting out of hand, I decided to have a very candid conversation with Zach, and he said that he was very sorry for sabotaging our marriage and he would do everything it takes to make it work. So, as a way of an apology, he tried to book me a trip to the Maldives. Honestly, from that news, all my sorrows about Fatima were gone and the Maldives was my dream vacation location. So when he got it for me, I felt out of this world. He actually called it a day of my pampering. He said this is what would celebrate my birthday because my birthday was coming up soon. This was a trip exclusive for only me and Zach, and we had it all planned out. I had packed my bags as early as I could. Both Zach and I seemed quite excited for this trip, but obviously I was the one who was more excited. I mean, it was my birthday trip. Did you think I was done dealing with Fatima? No, this was just the beginning. So my birthday was actually scheduled for 6 weeks before Fatima's EDD. But did I know that my husband actually registered at the hospital that Fatima was supposed to be giving birth at as the person that would be there by her bedside during the whole process? He didn't tell me this, and I think Fatima has family. Even if they're out of town, for such an important thing, I think it should be her family flying in or something, or even her husband, because he's still the owner of the child, or rather should we say ex-husband. But well, speaking of the devil, the day that Zach and I were meant to travel is the day that Fatima went into labor. Wow. Fatima, does this get any worse? So the night that Zach and I were supposed to leave to go to the airport and travel to the Maldives for my birthday is the same night that we received a call from Fatima that she was in labor. Zach rushed like his life depends on it. I mean running for his life to go to where Fatima was, and he stayed at the hospital with her. Suggested that we reschedule to a later date. Honestly, I don't know if it was on Fatima's side or mine. It was found that Fatima had complications and she had to deliver via C-section, so she wouldn't be discharged anytime soon. And her baby had some issues, jaundice or something. I can't remember very well. Without mentioning it to me or without my consent, Zach chose to reschedule our trip to the Maldives, and honestly, I was okay with it, but not for the sake that this was done for Fatima's sake. His mother was equally shocked by this. So I told Zach to come back home and he shouldn't have to stay in the hospital with Fatima. All the days that she'll be in the hospital being attended to, he didn't have to stay there because he's not Fatima's relative. So Zach says no, he can't come home and he has to wait till Fatima feels better for him to leave the hospital. This is what I mean. Zach wasn't coming home to bath. Zach wasn't coming home to eat. He was doing everything at the hospital and staying with Fatima the whole time. When Zach refused to come home, I actually told him to stay at the hospital and he should only come back when he does a paternity test for that child, because honestly at this point, you're being the father to this child. Maybe you are the real father and you should do some DNA or something. I explained to his family and everyone in his family actually believes that this is his child because he's acting way out of character for this woman. I only got to find out later that the only reason why Fatima's husband divorced her is for the fact that she was actually cheating just 4 months into their marriage. Also, Fatima's friends have confirmed to me that Fatima has gone out with almost all their men and they think that Zach is not safe with her. This is the reason why she didn't have any friends to go with her to her birth and delivery, because all her friends hate her because she's gone out with all their men. Zach's mom actually mentioned to me that she regrets having him as her child and she would have been happier if I was her daughter. So next week, my mother-in-law and I are going to go to the Maldives and we're leaving Zach out of this. Honestly, he doesn't matter at this point. Have fun with your new family, babe. If you were Zach's wife, what would you do? Because I'm upset just telling this story. Anyway, give us your advice in the comments.